Gather round, kiddies, and let me tell you the story of the massive Silmar Earthquake of 1971. It happened in the early morning hours. It did. It actually happened in the early morning on February the 9th in 1971. And this was a really important earthquake in the history of Los Angeles because it changed a lot of legislation. So let's talk about it. The Silmar San Fernando Earthquake happened on February 9th, 1971. It was a magnitude 6.6 event, which may not sound that big, but it caused extreme amounts of shaking and just really, really extensive damage and surface faulting. So not every earthquake breaks the surface of the ground. This one did, and it did it in a big way. Lots of structures were damaged. We had roadway failures across the area. There were major freeway interchanges that collapsed. There was a near total dam failure, thousands of landslides. Lots and lots of buildings were destroyed, including medical facilities like the Olive Hospital and the Veterans Hospital. Most of the fatalities, unfortunately, occurred in those medical facilities. Schools across the area were damaged. But if we're going to talk about schools, we have to rewind to another important earthquake in LA history, which was the 1933 Long Beach earthquake. It was a magnitude 6.3, and it caused massive damage to schools across Los Angeles. 230 some schools had to be closed because they were destroyed or they were unsafe. So after that earthquake, the Field Act was established, and the Field Act said that schools had to be earthquake resistant. So they changed the way that they designed the school buildings, and that assisted in keeping a lot of the school buildings safer during this event. Although there was damage, they fared much better than they would have otherwise, and they fared better than other structures across the region. So just like we learned from the Long Beach earthquake, we also implemented some legislation during the Silmar earthquake, or just after the Silmar earthquake. In particular, one of the things was Senate Bill 520, which was the Priolo Special Zoning Act. The point of this was saying that we really shouldn't build active habitable structures across active fault systems. Seems legit, right? Like, don't build across the fault so the building doesn't get torn in half. The idea being that when an earthquake occurs and breaks the surface of the ground, the next earthquake is likely to cause displacement in that same location. This isn't as easy or straightforward, though, as you might think. Number one, because there are literally thousands of faults across California. We don't know where all of them are. Number two, we're not entirely certain which ones are active. And so to find out which ones are active, we have to do significant amounts of work, digging down into the faults, looking at the geomorphology or how they've changed the surface. And so what even counts as active? Anything in the last 10,000 years, so during the Holocene. So after every earthquake, we learn a lot. But I'm going to suggest now, instead of being reactive, maybe we start being